right now, the playoffs that we got going on, and we're in the middle of those playoffs, are the college football playoffs. And dude, just to mention, like we were talking about before, this was the first year that the college football playoffs have done a 12-team format for you guys that do not know. So there is a bye week for 4 teams. And that bye week was 2 weeks ago. Last week, they played their game, and all 4 teams that had the bye week lost. Before we get into the scores and all of that, just to speak on the bye week situation for these college football teams, do you believe it was a mistake for the committee to do this as a whole because the bye week is affecting these teams of not playing? Or do you think it was just a coincidence why all these 4 teams lost?
I'll say it's a coincidence. I mean, the NFL's had the bye week forever now, and they're even doubling down on that even more so with more teams in the playoffs. And yeah, sometimes you get teams that they take the time off and it doesn't pan out, and then sometimes you get teams that are banged up and they needed that time off,
Mhm.
right? But I think it's one of those things that the microscope always goes under the loss, but never on the win. If any of those teams were win, let's say all 4 teams won, right? You would have been like, oh, the bye week is great, it's amazing, whatever. But they were supposed to win. They were the better team. It'll just get brushed off. But when they lose, it looks like it's all the bye week. I think one thing about the college football playoffs that I've always hated, and this is more so the 14 format, but even the discussions for the 8 to 12, is when you hear a lot of people say, well, this is why we don't want 12 teams because, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 are so bad and they get destroyed. Or this is why Florida State shouldn't have gotten into the top 4 last year because look what happened when they played a good team after that. Uh, and they make it seem as if only 3 or 4 teams are worth even having on TV at that point. Whereas every other playoff tournament, whether it's basketball, football, baseball, hockey, doesn't matter, includes like 16 teams, or close to that. So I think the coincidence is the bigger thing there. I would still be fine with if Miami, my team, your team, had gotten in and would have been a bye week team. I would have been great with that. I would have taken that bye week, taken some time off to coach and think about what you got going ahead. I don't think that every single year going forward, or if you take the next 5 years and do the math, that it's going to be like, well, having the bye week is a negative thing, you know?
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think it's more of a coincidence than anything else. It's just crazy to me how all 4 teams lost. Like,
Yeah.
and the closest game was the Texas Arizona State game, which I thought that Texas won 39-31. I thought that game was going to be a blowout. I didn't think
They
that
started.
Arizona. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I thought it was going to end the same way, you know.
Yeah.
And then I thought the other 3 games, well, actually, the Penn State Boise State one, I thought it was going to be kind of a blowout too, because
Yeah, me
they have
too.
Boise State has no defense like that, and Penn State has a defense and an offense, so
Yeah.
they can just take it over the top there. But the other 2 games, I thought they were going to be close. I thought they were going to each game was going to be settled by a field goal at least. Ohio State won 41-21 against the top ranked seed Oregon. And then Notre Dame won 23 to 23-10 to Georgia, who was the number 2 team in the country. Obviously, they didn't have their starting quarterback, so that actually, was a big
Yeah.
deal. But especially with the defense that Notre Dame had. But dude, I didn't think that there was gonna be blowouts like this, bro. Did you? Did you think it was gonna
N-
be like that?
No. So the only one that I thought, I agree. I thought Texas was going to win handedly. And once that got the early lead going on, I was kind of like not checked out because I still had it on, I was still watching it, but I was like, kind of what I thought
Let
would
me let
happen.
me do some
Uh,
laundry. Let me cook. Let me do
yeah,
this.
yeah. I put it in the, I put it on the TV over there or whatever. But
Yeah.
overall, like, yeah, I agree. I don't think the bad teams per se in the bracket were all that bad, and there wasn't that much of a gap between the two. So no, I thought the games would have been a lot better. Agreed, but at the same time, some of these teams that was really based on their history, like Penn State. Even though, yeah, I did think they should win. The only reason I am kind of hesitant on the blowout with them was because of their own downfalls when it comes to big games. Notre Dame, the same thing. They're one of those teams that like doesn't tend to show up in big games when it comes to it, and it's like, okay, well,
Mhm.
I don't know what I'm gonna get from them. So the mystery of these teams that in history have kind of failed me, not for my own rooting sake, but just in terms of this could be the year for them. James Franklin, it could be the year for them. They always fall short. That's really the only reason I thought that some of these things could get out of hand. But overall, I expected all great games. And even still, if you look at the ratings, they still were way up from any of the previous years, even
Mhm.
with blowouts.
Yeah.
So it's not as though the system is broken or anything. It's just unfortunate.
Football is king, bro. Football is king,
Football's
and
always king.
obviously,
Yeah.
yeah, NFL is the top 100%, but
Oh yeah,
football is
those two NFL games outdid the 4 college football games.
yeah.
You know?
No, and even for Christmas, the 2
Yeah,
Christmas
that's what I'm
games,
yeah. That's what I'm
yeah,
saying. Those 2 NFL games outdid
bro.
the ratings of the 2. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, for
But
the NBA as well. Like LeBron was saying, he's like, "Yeah, I
that's
love the
right.
NFL, but and Christmas is ours." It's like, no, not no more. That's it. It's
No.
done with. That is done with.
Yeah.
Like
Y'all keep
it's
shooting up a
gone,
bunch of random ass threes. You're not gonna take the lead on
dude.
Christmas no more.
Like even with that, like, sorry to digress here, but even with that, the viewership has gone down 40% in the last 3 years with the NBA, and why?
Mhm.
It's because of the refs. It's because of the shooting. It's because there's no more dunking. It's because so many fouls are called, and literally, you watch an
Yeah.
NBA game, there's a foul called in the first minute of the game, and most games nowadays, and it's like,
Yeah.
dude,
It's
people
3 or
don't want to.
free. That's it. 3 or free. 3-pointer or free throws. That's all you're getting.
They don't want to see the game stop. You need to implement the playoff rules to the regular season and and downgrade the playoff rules and let there be more aggression, bro. Like, dude, like
Yeah.
I get it. We're in 2025. It's a different generation. You want to protect the youngins. You want to, you don't want to show so much aggression and clash out there while you're playing a sport. But dude, it's part of the game. It's part
Dude,
of the game.
baseball learned it. Baseball said, "Oh, we're gonna change the baseball so that more home runs can happen." And they're not gonna market it and say that, but obviously they changed the ball. Suddenly there was more home runs, right? Then the next year they bring it back down and the ratings go up. People don't they just the perception that points and 3-pointers is automatically leading to viewership just needs to
I,
go in the trash can. It's
yeah,
not.
bro.
We want competition. So I just was at
Competition.
the
Exactly.
the UCF basketball
Very well
game
said.
versus Kansas, right? Like right before I jumped on this. UCF loses by like 50 points at home, first home loss of the season, but it's Kansas, top 10 team, of course, right?
Mhm.
Um, the way Kansas plays is just watching that. That's just an old school, well coached team, moving the ball around, playing in and out from their centers, high screens leading to passes, second, third hockey assist kind of thing. They were just playing so fundamentally that it was just constant baskets, easy baskets, nothing too difficult. It was smooth. It was easy, and it's like you don't see NBA teams doing this anymore. The rules got lax, like you said, in terms of the carrying and the hezzies and all this extra drop steps you can do, fading to the basket. Like you just let it become so lax offensively that people are shooting so many threes and they can do whatever they want. And then there's the ticky tack fouls, and it's just the product's so watered down, so watered down.
Yeah,
And
man.
it can
And
never compete with the NFL at this point. Having one
never.
game a week, all in on your team. We got 3 or 4 NBA games that week on a season nobody cares about. Me and you might still watch, but in terms of the overall
Because we love
viewership,
it, because we love it, but
because we
we're
love it, yeah.
I bet
But
you're
you already
as
have a
I bet you're as disappointed as I am when it comes to, like, when you're
oh,
watching games, you're like, "Dude, like, come on, man."
every day, every single day. I watched 3 NBA games today, and I'm still annoyed. Like, I'm gonna watch, but I am annoyed.
Mhm. Yeah, and
Yeah.
another thing too, I think 82 games is too much, man. I think they should bring it down to, like, 50, 60 games, right? And then what you do is you play 1 or 2 games a week. Play 2 games a week or 3 games a week. You're putting too much on their bodies, like, you wanna protect your players like you say, right? Okay, bring down the games and let them play harder for those 2, 3 games a week.
Yeah,
But
it's tough because, the double-edged sword of that is the money. You know, Players are saying, what are these baseball guys getting paid, 500 million, $600 million to play a game that they perceive as not taxing on the body.
mm,
But I mean, it's not necessarily just the game itself. It's the travel. It's the you're playing every single day thing. 162 games. Like you're paying per game. If you're going to come down from 82 games to 60 games, be prepared to make less money. They don't want to do
exactly.
that.
Yeah.
And I know these TV deals are getting bigger and bigger, but it's only a matter of time before these networks are like, like the ratings are going down. I'm not going to keep giving you these giant deals to the NBA, and these contracts go down with less games. The players won't budge on the finances, so it's kind of we're stuck.
Yeah, man. I don't know. They got to do something. But we'll jump back here to the college
Sure.
football playoffs. So Saturday will be the first game of the semifinal round. Will be Notre Dame versus Penn State. There, who do you think takes that?
So this is the two teams of never know what you're going to get from these teams, right?
Exactly.
But they've,
Exactly.
in terms of ignoring that and sticking with what they've given us this year, I'm gonna go with Penn State. I think Penn State is just their ceiling is a touch high. Do not by far or anything like that. They are definitely beatable. We've seen that, but
Yeah.
I think their ceiling is a touch higher. I think James Franklin is doing good enough to just kind of keep them at their peak. Nothing too creative. Not doing any like I see some of these teams getting a little overly coached, a little too much adjustments, a little too cute with some of their gameplay. They are a very much straightforward kind of team, and that hasn't really put them in a bad situation yet. A couple times this year, their first halves have looked kind of weak, but they've been able to make enough adjustments to steal some wins. But I think overall, the way they look is more constant. Whereas with Notre Dame, there is times in the year where same old Notre Dame and games they've won, same old Notre Dame, but they were able to escape and make it work. Whereas Penn State, you kind of know what you're getting out of them. It is straightforward football, play inside the boxes and just run the ball, simple over the middle kind of throws, nothing too dynamic, but enough to just get the job done. So I'm going to take the constant of Penn State here instead of the ups and downs of Notre Dame.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the underdog here in Notre Dame because I just love their defense and how they're outputting right now. The
Yeah,
defense they're playing in such a way that yeah, they went up against a backup quarterback in Georgia, but Georgia still had their all their
Georgia's
starters out there, and they're
stacked.
still dogs, no
Mhm.
matter what. Obviously, no pun intended, but they're
Yeah,
dogs. They're dogs. And the way that Notre Dame played against them, they were just they came out in the beginning a little shooketh, a little like iffy, but throughout the game, how the game went on, Notre Dame started wrapping up that defense, and you saw that Georgia couldn't really do anything. So
yeah.
I think it's kind of be the same thing. I do agree with what you're saying. I think that Penn State has a more consistent team all around. I just like the way that the Notre Dame defense has been playing, and I think if anything, if you guys are a betting man like I am, I would take Notre Dame plus 7.5.
Oh,
That if Penn State does win, I think it's only going to be by a touchdown. I don't think it's going to be
yeah,
by
yeah.
much.
If you're going bets, I like that as well.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
Sunday will be the second semifinal game, and we will see. Is that Sunday?
No,
Is
no, I
that
think
when
it's Thursday, Friday.
Okay, so yeah,
Thursday, Friday for college football.
no, yeah,
Saturday,
you're right.
Sunday
You're
for
right. You're right.
NFL.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I got the dates wrong. So Thursday will be the Notre Dame Penn State game. Friday will be the Texas Ohio State game. Um, for that one, who do you got?
that's tough, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I think what's going to be tough is, well, I mean, Ryan Day's been questioned throughout most of the season. This team spent $20 million on their roster, and at first there didn't seem like they were going to go anywhere. Obviously, losing to Michigan at home, that's not going to do well for you. But um, that Texas Arizona State game and the weaknesses they were able to show in the second half there, I think there's enough
Tough,
there.
tough.
There's enough there to make me a little worried that I think that
Same.
Ohio State can, they can take it. And I
Yeah.
think coming into this, not to just because they're the one seed or anything like that, or up close to the top, top three. Um, Texas this could be the year, but I still had a little question. And that Arizona State, man, that put me in a spot where I think Ohio State's going to take it, unfortunately, because I just can't stand that team. But bias aside, they look more balanced, man.
Very well said because I think the same. I think Ohio State you have a number one offense in the country in Oregon where they only put up 21 points against a Ohio State team that was probably ranked fifth in the country in offense and but maybe third in the country in defense. Uh, 41 to 21. You would think that the Oregon Ducks were going to put up a little bit more of a fight there, not
Yeah,
lose by 20 points. But Ohio State, they show what they can show. And just like how you're mentioning, Texas and Arizona State, I thought that was going to be a blowout. Like we
me
saw
too.
it was transpiring in the
That was my
beginning.
least interested game, even though I like Arizona
Same.
State, the running back and all that. But that was the game I was like, if I could miss any of them,
It
I'm
would be
going
this
to. That would be the one where I can make
a
other
hundred
plans for the
percent,
day.
100%.
Yeah.
And the way that they played in that game just worries me too. I don't think that Ohio State has a great defense. and their
Yeah.
offense is pretty good as well, especially with the youngin. That guy is going crazy. I don't know. I don't see Texas putting up 39 points on Ohio State, and I see Ohio
Yeah.
State scoring at least 3 times, and then because Texas defense is not all that good, they're
All
top.
right. But yeah.
They're not mediocre, but
No,
like
but when it
they're not
comes to the
great.
last 4 teams,
Exactly.
you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I got Ohio State on that too. And honestly, in this one, man, I would say if you're a betting man, I would take Ohio State -3.5, or even
Minus
minus
3.5.
maybe
Okay.
minus 2.5, -2.5. Win
Oh,
by a
yeah.
field goal at
Yeah.
least. At least.
Dude, I mean, it's who's hot right now, for the first time ever. You 12 teams down to this, and like you said, Notre Dame is hot right now. Ohio State's hot right now. Uh, it's no offense, Texas. Like I would say coming into this, I was very high on them in terms of just, they're looked the part all year long. But geez, they're in, they're in for a fight.
Yeah, yeah. It's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough. But it's gonna be two exciting games for sure. And then
Yeah.
the winner of these two games will play in the championship, the national championship, which would be January 20th at 7:30 p.m. on ESPN.